I never expected a single moment to change my life so completely. I had lived all these years believing that family was safe, that love was unconditional, and yet that day, everything I thought I knew came crashing down. It started with a quiet afternoon. I was in the kitchen, making tea, the kettle's whistle filling the silence. My daughter, Lily, was upstairs in her room. My husband, Robert, was reading in his chair, his glasses sliding down his nose. I thought it was just another ordinary day. But then I heard it, a voice, soft, careful, almost hidden behind laughter. It was my sister-in-law, talking about me, about a secret I never imagined existed. "She's been hiding it for 15 years, she said. The words felt like ice. 15 years. 15 years of truth kept from me. I froze, the teacup trembling in my hand. I could hear the quiet pause, the hesitation in their speech. My heart thumped. I wanted to leave, to run away from what I was about to hear, but somehow I stayed. I didn't hear anger. I didn't hear shouting. I heard whispers, soft voices, careful words, and somehow that made it worse. My husband didn't interrupt. My daughter didn't protest. I realized then I had been kept in the dark all these years. All those decisions I thought were mine, all the plans I had made, all the little moments I thought were shared. Perhaps they were built on lies or half-truths. I wanted to ask. I wanted to confront. I wanted to scream. But my voice would not come. Sometimes pain is quiet. Sometimes it freezes you in place. Later, when they spoke to me directly, their words were gentle, almost apologetic. "We didn't know how to tell you," they said. "It was never the right time." I nodded. I smiled. But inside, 1,000 questions burned. Why? How? Could I have known? Could I have done something? That day, the walls of our home felt different. The air was heavy, filled with things left unsaid. And I realized something that hurt more than any secret. The truth has the power to change everything. I should start by telling you who I am, not just as a mother, a wife, or a sister, but as a woman who has lived many lives inside one heart. My name is Margaret. I am 61 years old, and for most of my life, I believed that family was everything, that love meant patience, sacrifice, and understanding. I grew up in a small home where the walls were thin, but the laughter was loud. My parents taught me to care for others before myself. My mother believed that silence could heal more than words, and my father showed me how to stay strong when life demanded it. From them, I learned to forgive quickly, to protect quietly, and to keep families together, even when my own heart ached. I married young. My husband, Robert, was gentle and steady. We didn't have much, but our home was filled with warmth. Every morning, he would whistle softly while making coffee, and I would watch him and smile. Our life was simple, yet it was ours. Then came Lily, my daughter. The day she was born, everything changed. I still remember holding her tiny fingers in mine, promising her the world. I promised to protect her, to guide her, to love her, unconditionally. And I did. Every scraped knee, every tear, every night she cried, I was there. Robert and I raised her together, sharing laughter and tears, dreams and worries. Life was not always easy, but we had each other. We had our small rituals, Sunday morning pancakes, evening walks, bedtime stories. These were simple things, but they built a world where love felt safe. And yet, life has a way of testing you when you least expect it. My sister-in-law, Clara, was always part of our lives. She was confident, outspoken, and sometimes sharp, but I loved her like a second sister.
I trusted her. I thought she would always be someone I could rely on. Over the years, we shared secrets, advice, and laughter. She knew my heart better than most, or at least I thought she did. I never imagined that behind smiles and kind words, something would remain hidden for 15 years. 15 years of a secret that would eventually shatter the quiet trust I had built around me. Life went on. Lily grew up. She became independent, thoughtful, and smart. She had friends, ambitions, and dreams that stretched beyond our little home, and I, proud of her, continued to do what I always did: support, guide, and love her unconditionally. I believed I was part of a world where honesty and love ruled. I believed that the people I trusted would never leave me in the dark. But sometimes the hardest truths are hidden in plain sight, and sometimes the people you trust most are the ones who keep those truths from you. For years, I believed that family meant safety, that a mother's love could hold everything together. But what I did not realize was that life doesn't always give us the clarity we seek. Sometimes it gives us questions we cannot answer. And so I lived, unaware, believing that everything was as it should be. Little did I know, one quiet afternoon, everything would change. One small, soft conversation would show me a truth I was never prepared to face.
It started quietly, not with a fight or an argument, not with anger or raised voices, but with small things, small silences, careful glances, and moments that didn't feel right. I began to notice them slowly, little pauses in conversation. Lily would tell me about her day, and I would see a hesitation in her eyes, a look she thought I wouldn't notice. Or Clara would ask me questions, polite on the surface, but with an edge that made me shrink inside. Dinner became different. The clinking of plates, the soft hum of the television, the smell of cooking, everything remained the same on the surface, but the warmth, the feeling of belonging, it was thinning. I would sit at the table, smiling, serving food, asking about their day, and notice the subtle ways they avoided me, the way they laughed at jokes I couldn't hear, the way they leaned toward each other as if I weren't there. I tried to adjust. I stepped back. I spoke less, smiled more, and waited for the moments to feel natural again. But the distance only grew. One afternoon, while I was arranging flowers in the living room, I overheard a conversation I was not meant to hear. Clara and Lily were talking softly. Their voices were calm, careful, but I could hear every word. "She's too sensitive," Clara said. "She doesn't understand boundaries," Lily added. "And she keeps asking questions," Clara whispered. Lily agreed quietly. "Yes, sometimes I feel like she doesn't see how things are now." I froze. My hands shook slightly. The flowers I held trembled. I wanted to turn around, to confront them, to ask why they were saying these things, but something inside me, fear perhaps, or disbelief, kept me rooted to the spot. Later, I tried to speak to Lily gently. "Have I done something wrong?" I asked, my voice soft. She looked at me, eyes careful, lips tight. "It's different now," she said. "You wouldn't understand." Different. That one word landed heavier than anything else. It was soft, but it carried a weight I had never felt before. Different meant excluded. Different meant I no longer belonged in the small world I had built with my own hands. Days turned into weeks. I tried to stay calm. I reminded myself that family love sometimes needed space. I told myself to breathe, to smile, to step aside.
But inside, a quiet ache was growing, a hollow place that no smile could fill. I noticed how I began apologizing for everything, for speaking, for laughing, for existing too loudly. Even small advice, which I had given lovingly for years, was met with hesitation, polite nods, and then silence. I began to feel invisible. And yet, I still loved them, still cared, still wanted to hold the family together. I told myself it was my responsibility to be patient, to forgive, to adapt. Then, one night, the quiet escalated. I was in the kitchen, washing dishes, trying not to listen, but the sound of soft voices floated through the hallway. I stopped, heart beating, hands gripping the sink. "She doesn't get it," Clara whispered. "I know, she thinks she's helping, but it's too much. I think we should just give her space," Clara said softly. Every word cut deeper than I expected. Space, not conversation, not understanding. Space, as if I were an obstacle, a burden, a stranger in the house I had nurtured for decades. I wanted to run, to yell, to demand to be seen, but instead I returned to my room and sat quietly on the edge of my bed. I listened to my own breathing. I let the tears fall in silence, not because I was ashamed of crying, but because the quiet hurt felt sharper than any argument ever could. For weeks, the tension persisted. Family events, dinners, even casual conversations were filled with unspoken walls. I observed them from a distance, pretending to be part of the moment, but feeling detached, like a ghost passing through a house that was no longer mine. Even David, my own husband's brother, who had always been kind to me, seemed distant. He asked polite questions, offered formal greetings, and left. No warmth, no shared memories, only a polite mask that barely hid the truth. One evening, I decided to confront it gently, softly, in the calmest voice I could find. I said, "I feel left out. Am I doing something wrong?" I asked, my voice soft. She looked at me, a faint sigh escaping her lips. "It's not about right or wrong. It's different. We think it's better for everyone." Better, another word I had learned to fear. Better meant separate. Better meant invisible. Better meant that all my years of love, care, and support had been quietly dismissed. And that was the night I realized the truth. For 15 years, a secret had quietly shaped everything. I had not known it, not fully, but now it had emerged, and it was reshaping my reality. I sat alone that night, staring at the walls I had built memories upon. The laughter that once filled the rooms seemed distant, a fading echo. I felt small, invisible, and broken. And yet, through the ache, I told myself I must survive, not because I was strong, but because giving up was not an option. And so, I waited, I listened, I tried to understand, and slowly I began to see the first signs of what would come next, a confrontation, a revelation, a turning point that I was both dreading and hoping for.
The day it happened was quiet, almost deceptively quiet. The kind of day when the sunlight slants softly through the curtains and everything seems peaceful, but you know deep down that nothing will ever feel the same again. I was sitting in the living room, knitting slowly, trying to keep my hands busy while my mind wandered through memories of the past. 15 years of life, love, and careful sacrifices played in my head like an old, scratched film.
Every laugh, every small victory, every tear I had held in solitude, all of it felt like it was leading up to this moment. Lily walked in. Her steps were deliberate. She avoided my gaze, but there was a tension in the air I couldn't ignore. I sensed it immediately, a quiet storm gathering behind her calm exterior. I think it's time I tell you," she said, her voice trembling ever so slightly. I paused, my hands stilling mid-knit. "Tell me what?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm, though my heart was already racing. She hesitated. Then, slowly, she pulled a small envelope from her pocket. My name was written on it in neat handwriting. This is the truth," she said softly. I took the envelope, my hands shaking. The paper felt heavier than any stone I had ever held. Somehow I knew before opening it that nothing would ever be the same. I unfolded it carefully, almost reverently, and began to read. Each word was a revelation, each sentence a sharp twist in the story of my life. 15 years ago, there had been a decision made, a secret kept, a truth that affected everything I thought I knew about my family, my home, my life. The letter revealed that someone I trusted, someone I had loved and protected, had hidden a choice that changed the course of everything. My hands fell to my lap. The letter trembled and my mind raced. I felt betrayed, yes, but also a profound sadness. Not anger, not outrage, just sadness, because 15 years of quiet love, trust, and care had been unknowingly built on a foundation of hidden truths. I looked at Lily. Why now?" I whispered. She avoided my eyes. "Because you deserve to know. Because it's unfair to keep carrying the weight alone. I didn't know how to tell you before." I nodded slowly, absorbing the words. The world felt strange, different. My home felt smaller somehow, yet heavier with the weight of things finally brought to light. For the first time in years, I realized how much had been unsaid, how much had been left in shadows. The quiet whispers, the careful silences, the polite smiles, they all made sense now. I had thought I was being ignored, excluded, perhaps even unloved, but the truth was more complex, more human, more heartbreaking. I remembered all those nights I had spent listening to laughter that wasn't mine, sitting quietly while family plans unfolded without me, wondering if I had failed somehow, and now I understood. It wasn't my failure, it was a hidden truth I had never been meant to know, until now. Tears welled up in my eyes, not just for myself, but for everyone who had been caught in the quiet web of secrecy, for the years lost to misunderstanding, for the small, invisible wounds that had been quietly etched into our hearts. I stood up. I walked to the window and looked outside. The street was calm, the sunlight soft, the world continuing as if nothing had changed. But inside me, everything had shifted. The foundations of my life, the roles I had played, the love I had given, all of it had new meaning now. Later, I spoke with David. He had been in the room all along, silent, watching, waiting for what I might say, what I might feel. I didn't know," he whispered. I took a deep breath. "I didn't know?" I asked, gently. "No," he admitted. "I thought it was better. I thought it was safe to wait. I didn't know how to tell you." And in that moment, I realized something vital. It wasn't just the secret that mattered. It was the courage it took to finally bring it into the open. It was the honesty that finally allowed us to breathe together in the same room without pretending. We sat in silence after that. Words were unnecessary. The air itself carried the weight of 15 years. The love, the misunderstandings, the hidden pains, the quiet resilience. I knew then that life could be fragile, that love could be complicated, that trust, once shaken, needed time and care to be rebuilt. And yet, even with everything revealed, even with the heartbreak, there was a strange relief, a calm in the storm. Because truth, even if late, can heal. Because understanding, even if painful, can guide the heart forward. And because sometimes the most important thing is to survive the hurt, to hold your heart, and to let love quietly find its way back, slowly, gently, and with patience.
The days that followed were quiet. Not empty, but quiet. My home felt different now. Lighter in some ways, heavier in others. The secret had been revealed, and with it the world I had known shifted. Yet I felt a strange calm. For the first time in years, I wasn't pretending. I wasn't shrinking. I wasn't waiting to be invited into my own life. I moved slowly through the house, touching familiar walls, looking at photographs that had witnessed decades of laughter and tears. Memories floated around me, unspoken, unchanged by the revelation. I realized that life doesn't erase the past, it transforms it. The same walls that had held secrets also held love. The same floor that carried footsteps of betrayal also carried years of joy. I began to pay attention to myself again, simple things at first, making my bed, preparing a meal just for me, drinking tea slowly without worrying about anyone else's approval. These small acts felt revolutionary. For so long I had measured my existence by others' comfort, others' happiness, others' needs. Now I was learning to measure it by my own. Writing became my sanctuary. I opened a notebook I had kept hidden for years and began to pour my thoughts onto the page. I wrote letters I would never send, recounting moments that had hurt, moments that had uplifted, and the quiet resilience that had carried me through it all. Each word released a fraction of the weight I had been carrying in silence. David called occasionally. His voice was cautious at first, tentative. "Mom, are you eating well?" he would ask. "Yes," I said. And slowly, over time, it became true. Our conversations changed. They were no longer hurried, polite, or burdened with unspoken tension. They were careful, yes, but genuine. We discussed small things, recipes, the weather, memories of my husband, David's childhood. Slowly, we were rebuilding a connection, not perfect, not rushed, but sincere. Sometimes I caught myself feeling anger at the years lost, anger at the silence that had hidden the truth, but I did not hold on to it. Anger, I realized, would only tie me to the past. I let it pass like a leaf floating down a stream, acknowledged but released. I started walking in the nearby park each morning. I watched children run, couples hold hands, the sunlight flicker through leaves. Life moved on whether I was hurt or healed, and I knew I had to move with it, even if slowly. Each step was a reminder that my heart could still feel, still breathe, still hope. One afternoon, there was a knock at my door. I opened it, expecting no one, yet there he was, David. His shoulders were low, his eyes filled with hesitation and regret. "Mom, I think I made mistakes. I should have told you the truth sooner. I should have stood up when I could have." I nodded slowly. I wanted to say everything, to list every hurt, every tear, every lonely night. But instead, I chose calm. I let my heart speak through silence first. "I forgive you, but I cannot disappear again. I cannot shrink for the comfort of others. I must live fully, as myself." He nodded, understanding. There was no apology big enough, no words sufficient, but in that moment something shifted. The air between us softened. A fragile bridge, but a bridge nonetheless. I realized that life is not about perfection. It is about honesty, even when it is late. It is about connection, even when fragile.
It is about learning to love without losing yourself. The secret that had once threatened to shatter us became a turning point, a moment that taught the true weight and value of honesty. Even as the weeks turned into months, I continued my quiet routine. I cooked, I walked, I wrote. I allowed myself small joys without guilt: a cup of tea in the morning sunlight, a bird singing near my window, a memory of David's laughter in his childhood. These small things were mine. They reminded me that life, even after heartbreak, could still hold gentle beauty. And slowly I noticed it, the quiet strength that had been growing in me all along. Not loud, not demanding, not dramatic, but steady, persistent, true. The strength to forgive, the strength to love quietly, the strength to be fully present in my own life. I began to understand that truth has power, not just to hurt, but to heal, that love can survive misunderstanding and secrecy, but only if hearts are willing to open, if patience is given time, and if resilience is nurtured. I spent long evenings at my window, watching the sun set, thinking of all I had endured. I whispered my thoughts into the dimming light. I have lived, I have loved, I have been unseen, yet I remain. I have been hurt, yet I survive. I am enough. It was quiet, but it was true, and in that truth I found peace. Even when David came by later, we did not rush. We sat with tea, sometimes talking, sometimes silent, simply sharing the space. The secret that had once loomed so heavily between us no longer defined our connection. It had reshaped it, gently, honestly, with care. I realized something vital. Love does not demand suffering. Truth does not always arrive on time. Healing is not instant, but patience, resilience, and self-worth can guide you through. And when the heart learns to hold itself with kindness, the world, even with its secrets and betrayals, can feel safe again. I am no longer shrinking. I am no longer invisible. I exist fully, quietly, and with strength. And that, I have learned, is enough.
Today, I live quietly, but fully. I have learned to value my own presence. I wake each morning and make my tea slowly, letting the sunlight touch the rooftops. I walk through the streets nearby, listening to birds, feeling the wind on my face. These simple things, so ordinary, so small, are mine. They remind me that life is still beautiful, even after heartbreak. I often think about the secret that changed everything. It hurt me deeply, yes. It shook the foundation of my world. But it also taught me something no one else could, that my worth does not depend on anyone else's understanding or approval. My heart, my life, my peace, they are mine to protect. Sometimes David visits. Sometimes we talk for hours. Sometimes we sit in silence, each lost in our own thoughts, yet connected. And sometimes we do not speak at all. And that is okay. I have learned that love is not always loud or dramatic. It is quiet, patient, forgiving. It does not demand, it does not cling. It allows space and growth. I have learned to forgive, truly, not for them alone, but for myself. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it is releasing the weight that keeps the heart from breathing freely. And in that freedom, I have found joy again, small as it may be, but real. I have also learned to care for myself. For years, I put others first, sometimes forgetting my own needs, my own desires. Now I honor them. I listen to myself. I nurture my heart as carefully as I once nurtured everyone else's. This, I realize, is not selfish. It is survival. It is living fully, honestly, and with love intact. Evenings are my favorite time. I sit by my window, watching the sky change colors, the soft glow of streetlights, the quiet movement of life outside. Sometimes a tear falls, not of sorrow, but of understanding, of acceptance, of quiet strength. I whisper to myself, life is short, love deeply, forgive quietly, protect your heart, and never forget that you are enough. I have been hurt, yes. I have been unseen, yes. I have been disappointed, yes. But I have also survived. I have learned, grown, and found a strength that no secret, no betrayal, no misunderstanding can take away. To anyone listening to this story, anyone who has ever felt invisible, unheard, or unvalued, remember this. Your worth does not disappear because someone fails to see it. Your heart is yours to keep. Your life is yours to live. Love, forgive, heal, and above all, stand for yourself. Because in the end, the greatest gift you can give yourself is peace. The greatest act of courage is to continue living fully, even when the world does not understand you. And the greatest love is the one you give to yourself, quietly, endlessly, and without apology. And so I sit here, in the soft glow of my home, feeling a warmth that comes from inside. I am still standing. I am still loving. I am still me. And that, right there, is enough.